Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, so if you've ever found yourself screaming at a television screen over a super controversial offside call, you probably weren't exactly thinking about the massive global apparatus that determined the rules for that specific play, or, the highly validated technology being used in that exact split second. Today, we're bridging the gap between two completely different worlds that govern the exact same game. On one side, we have FIFA's geopolitical boardroom, and on the other, its cutting-edge technological testing labs. We're going to explore how a massive international bureaucracy actually dictates the physics of the ball rolling across the grass.
All right, let's take a quick look at our roadmap for today. We'll start by unpacking soccer democracy and the FIFA Council, then we'll dive right into the FIFA research program, next-level officiating technology, and finally, we'll wrap up with equipment innovation.
So, Section 1, a representative soccer democracy. Let's look at the global geopolitical reality of how this all works.
To really wrap your head around the sheer, massive scale of global soccer governance, you literally just need this one number, 211. There are exactly 211 official member countries that make up the FIFA Congress. To put that into perspective, that is actually more member nations than the United Nations itself has. It's wild. And the reason it's so high is that FIFA includes territories and distinct footballing associations that aren't technically sovereign nations. But the key takeaway here, every single one of these 211 members gets a seat at the table to elect the president and the members of the FIFA Council.
And this right here perfectly illustrates how strict their equality rule really is. At the congressional level, when a massive overarching vote is cast, a small island nation like Barbados holds the absolute exact same voting power as a 5-time World Cup champion like Brazil.
The guiding philosophy here is, it's remarkably simple. One country, one vote, regardless of the size of the country or its soccer playing ability. It's a structure heavily inspired by the Olympic movement. They operate with absolute equality in mind during these annual sessions, ensuring that global soccer truly represents the whole globe, completely regardless of a nation's wealth or their historic success on the pitch.
Moving on to Section 2, the FIFA Council Explained. This is where the real day-to-day power actually lies.
Now here's where things get kind of interesting. While that Congress is vast, with 211 equally enfranchised members, actually running the day-to-day operations of the world's biggest sport requires a much tighter ship. That true executive authority sits with the FIFA Council, a dramatically smaller group of just 37 people. They're the ones meeting regularly to make the real, tangible decisions about how world soccer operates. And unlike that massive Congress, Council membership is not strictly equal. Instead, it's weighted. This weighting is purposefully designed to reflect the sheer volume of football played and the financial heft of the different regions. So you can see Europe's UEFA gets 9 representatives, including 3 vice presidents. Asia and Africa each get 7, CONCACAF and South America's CONMEBOL each get 5, and Oceania gets 3. And this entire executive council operates under the direct supervision of the FIFA president, Gianni Infantino, who presides over these meetings and steps in to cast deciding votes whenever necessary.
Okay, actually, scratch that. Before we dive into the science, we absolutely have to acknowledge this wonderfully weird historical quirk, the IFAB, or the International Football Association Board. It is honestly wild when you think about it. A global game played by billions of people across 211 nations can only have its physical rules changed by a board originally formed by the 4 British home nations, England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. Because soccer got its start in Great Britain, they retain this highly specialized power. The IFAB is literally the only body on Earth that can officially rewrite the physical rules of soccer, which are known as the laws of the game.
All right, so with all of that sprawling bureaucratic structure firmly established, we have to ask a highly practical question. How do these massive boardroom decisions actually impact the grass on the pitch? Like, how do we get from 211 voting delegates debating policy in a boardroom to the incredibly precise, high-tech sport we experience at the modern World Cup?
That brings us to Section 3, the FIFA research program. This is exactly where science meets soccer. When you think of the beautiful game, machine learning or artificial intelligence probably aren't the first things that pop into your head, right? But FIFA's research and standards department utilizes exactly these elite scientific disciplines. We're talking about deep dives into computer vision and complex biomechanics. This team applies advanced scientific methodologies to generate hard, empirical evidence. They're there to ensure that any evolution in the sport is based on absolute scientific rigor, rather than just, historical guesswork or a boardroom gut feeling. And this entire research initiative operates as a strict, unforgiving 3-step pipeline. First, they focus on generating knowledge about the game's most pressing physical and technical challenges. Second, they constantly refine and improve their existing testing methods. And third, they actively explore and build robust validation methods for brand new technologies. This intense pipeline ensures that before any new piece of tech touches a World Cup pitch, it has been ruthlessly stress-tested from literally every conceivable angle.
Let's look at how this applies in Section 4, Next Level Officiating Technology. A massive, and I mean massive, flagship achievement for this department is ASOT, or Semi-Automated Offside Technology. Think back to just a few years ago, right? Remember those agonizing, suspenseful minutes spent waiting for VAR offside decisions while someone manually drew lines on a screen? Well, SOT essentially solved that problem. Successfully deployed at recent World Cups, this innovation uses advanced player and ball tracking technologies to radically improve the precision and the speed of offside calls, making them nearly instant and objectively precise. A real game changer for sure. And the innovation doesn't stop at offsides. The research program is the scientific backbone responsible for validating virtual offside lines, VAR, and goal line technology. Now, it's absolutely crucial to understand that FIFA isn't necessarily in a lab building all the cameras themselves. Instead, they're doing something just as important: defining the strict, acceptable margins of error that external tech companies must prove they can hit. If a system can't meet FIFA's punishing key performance indicators, no way. It is not allowed into professional football.
Finally, Section 5, Innovating Football Equipment. This is all about ensuring standardized fairness across the board. A perfect real-world example of this is EPTS, or Electronic Performance and Tracking Systems. If you've ever noticed players wearing what looks like little sports bras or vests under their jerseys, well, that's EPTS. It captures critical biomechanical and positional data. But the research here serves a dual purpose. It's not just about getting flawless biometric data for the coaches on the sidelines. It is equally about ensuring that the physical hardware inside the vest is completely safe, guaranteeing it won't, say, injure a player's spine during a heavy collision on the field. And since 1996, the FIFA Quality Program has developed over 20 distinct, incredibly detailed test manuals. They are essentially applying modern science to the most fundamental, age-old elements of the game. We're talking about relentlessly stress-testing the aerodynamic bounce of the footballs, the structural integrity of the goalposts, and the exact friction coefficients of artificial turf. The goal is to keep the physical tools of the game completely standardized, whether you're playing in a massive stadium for a World Cup final or just on a sanctioned community field. Because the ultimate philosophy here is all about democratization. The strategic objective isn't just to turn the World Cup into some sci-fi spectacle. FIFA wants to use its vast resources to validate these incredibly advanced technologies so they can eventually become cheap, accessible, and standardized for all 211 member nations. They want that elite tracking tech and high-quality synthetic turf to trickle all the way down the pyramid to your local amateur leagues, ensuring everyone gets a chance to play on a fair, modern pitch. So, to wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a final thought to ponder. As FIFA's massive democratic engine works to push this flawlessly validated elite technology down to every single corner of the globe, we kind of have to wonder about the future of the sport. Will inserting artificial intelligence and millimeter-perfect tracking sensors into every match eventually alter the traditional, beautifully chaotic, human soul of the game? Or is it simply the ultimate realization of a perfectly fair playing field? It's a fascinating balance to keep an eye on, for sure. Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive.